through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, good morning. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Happy Wednesday to everybody out there listening to us.
Yeah, welcome in to everyone. This is a special NFL kickoff Coffee and Sports morning show. The NFL genius just jumped into the backstage area. He doesn't know this, but he's about to be up here on the stage and joining us for the majority of the show today. I know he's shaking his head back there. He wasn't prepared for this. But we are going to go through today, guys, and we are going to make our final. We've done it all, right? We've done the way too early NFL predictions. We've done the post-draft NFL predictions. We've done the start of training camp NFL predictions. And now we are going to lock in the end-all, be-all. Who is going to do what? Who is going to win the division? Who is going to the playoffs? And then we're even going to go as far as announcing conference winners. All right, that's what we're going to do right now. Let's get the NFL genius himself up here on the stage. We got some other things to talk about today as well, but we're going to push all the buttons. We're going to get Gene up here onto the stage. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm well.
Good morning.
Gene, before we jump into our predictions to end all other predictions, let's talk about 103 NFL players who anonymously did a poll for ESPN, and the results were interesting to say the least. Let's start with this. They wanted to name the top three current best quarterbacks in the NFL. That's what they wanted to do. Only 5 names were given by these 103 NFL players combined. Patrick Mahomes was a runaway favorite with 291 points. They did a point system. So 291 points. He was the number one. Number 2 was Lamar Jackson. Number 3 was Joe Burrow. Number 4 on the list was Josh Allen. Number 5 was Aaron Rodgers. I don't personally have an issue with that top 5 going into this season. But Gene, if you look at a lot of the other lists that have been created out there heading into the season, the one name that you don't see is Aaron Rodgers in the top 5. Generally, he's hanging out around the bottom of the top 10. Any issue with NFL players saying Aaron Rodgers is the 5th best quarterback coming into this season?
Absolutely not. I think that for one season and one season only, Aaron Rodgers could easily be in anyone's top 5. I actually understand if someone says, like, he's my number 2 or my number 3. The only person I couldn't put him ahead of would be Patrick Mahomes. But I would not be, like, if there was an NFL player that said Aaron Rodgers is the 2nd best quarterback in football right now, his accuracy, he understands how to read defenses. And, like, if you're arguing against Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson, they've never won. So, like, I'm okay with Aaron Rodgers being 2.
Mo, the next thing that these NFL players got to name was the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. The top 3 vote getters were all basically tied. Number 1, Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills. Tied for 2nd, Jalen Hurts with the Philadelphia Eagles. And Tua Tagovailoa with the Miami Dolphins. Other vote getters, Justin Herbert had 9. Trevor Lawrence with 8. Deshaun Jackson with 7. Kyler Murray with 6. And Brock Purdy with 6. Gentlemen, all of our quarterbacks are on that list. That's
right.
wild, guys. That's wild.
Mhm.
I think Tua belongs on there. He hasn't won anything yet. He hasn't won a playoff game. Although he is a good regular season quarterback, the past 2 years he hasn't had playoff success. Mo, I don't know why the other two are on there. They have had extensive playoff success.
Yeah.
I get why Josh Allen's on there. He had a Super Bowl window, but he hasn't made one yet. But to have Hurts on there and Purdy on there, that's kind of weird to me. I get Trevor Lawrence. I get Justin Herbert. I get Deshaun Watson, though I don't know who's hyping him up lately. Same thing with Kyler Murray. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the other ones, Mo, were kind of interesting.
They were interesting. Look, the thing about Purdy, I think a lot of players have a built-up sense that he's part of the system, not somebody who can operate outside of the system. There might be some truth to that, but I think Brock's a better quarterback than he's given credit for. And I think that he seems like he shows progression each year he comes back. I think he'll even be better this season. But look, I understand why players have that perception. He's got all the weapons in the world. He's got a great play caller. I think the perception of him is he only has one job, not to mess it up.
Gene, usually you end up in this list when you haven't won anything. Hurts has one. Purdy has one. But you got Hurts in there, second behind Josh Allen. What do you make of the players having Hurts in the top three and Brock Purdy making the list as well?
Well, the reason the players have Hurts in the top three is because if you really want to break it down, he's played 3 NFL seasons, and only one of them has been a good quarterback season. So, like, I understand that, right? Like, I go back to 2017, 2018, when Carson Wentz was ranked as the number 3 player in the NFL. And people are like, all right, well, he did it for 1 year and with a loaded roster. The league didn't see him coming. They adjusted. Let's see if he can adjust. He didn't adjust. Jalen Hurts didn't adjust last year when the league adjusted him. They ran cover 0 versus the Philadelphia Eagles every down the last 4 weeks of the season. Cover 0 contain. Don't let him run. Make him throw the football. Make him make quick reads. He didn't do that. I love that. I want him to be listed as an overrated quarterback because now it's prove it time. Prove that you're not overrated. As for the other quarterbacks on the list, no issues with it. They all have something in common. Josh Allen makes terrible decisions, not a great decision maker. And then the other ones are they products of systems? Or are they not products of systems? Is Tua a product of the fastest offense in the NFL with Mike McDaniel? Is Brock Purdy a product of all the 49ers? But the answer would be, I have no problem with the overrated quarterbacks list. I just, you got to prove it. You got to show it. You got to win.
Well, if you had a problem with the overrated list, maybe the underrated list will make you feel better because the top of the most underrated quarterbacks, according to the players, is Brock Purdy, followed by Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Jordan Love, Bryce Young. Those were the top 3. There are a lot of ties in there. Also getting the list, Herbert, Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Tua Tagovailoa. So it just shows you. It just shows you, even when you take 103 players and you say, you guys are in the league. What do you think? What do you hear? What do you see? Some of them put guys like Hurts and Tua and Purdy on the overrated list. Some of them put them on the underrated list. It's very interesting to see that breakdown when you got all guys playing in the same league. They're all looking in here at the same kind of stuff, Mo. And their Purdy is most underrated quarterback in the league.
I agree with that. Look, I was on the Brock Purdy hate train going into last season, and it took me one football game to get off that hate train. It took me one. When they played the Pittsburgh Steelers week 1 last year, I was like, wow, he went progression, perfect pass, made the right decisions. I think he is underrated. And I think the reason that people think he's overrated and underrated are people that can't live past the fact that he was the last pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. They made a decision on him. He's not that good, and they can't get past it. And the other guys are listening like, are you watching this guy play? He's making the right reads, the right throws. He's super underrated. I get why he would be on both lists.
Mo, biggest trash talking quarterbacks in the NFL. Number 1 is Josh Allen. Number 2 is Baker Mayfield. Number 3 is Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, and CJ Stroud and Patrick Mahomes also make the list. I get Josh Allen. I see Josh Allen play way more games than I want to see Josh Allen play every year, but I will defend Josh Allen here. When you are going to run into linebackers and you're going to take linebackers head on, which he does, you better talk some trash because you're not going to win all of those head-on collisions. Right. He wins his fair share, but you're not going to win all of them. So whether you win them or you lose them, you better pop up quick and have something quick to say, and he usually does. Baker Mayfield talks a different kind of trash, if you will, as does Aaron Rodgers. But Mo, what do you make of the top three there? Allen, Mayfield, and Rodgers.
That's perfect. I would have had Baker number one. Baker he's a unique dude because he not only talks trash to the opposing team, he talks trash to himself to get himself pumped up. Like I'm on the Baker train because he's an interesting NFL character.
Gene, is surprised by any of those three being on the list?
Joe Burrow was the one that surprised me. I just didn't realize that he talked that much trash. Like, you see it with Josh Allen, you see it with Aaron Rodgers, you see it with Baker Mayfield. All three of them are always jawing at someone. I didn't expect Joe Burrow to be on that list. CJ Stroud, you can kind of see it in the podcast. Like, I get it. Like, I can hear but I just never seen Joe Cool is how I look at Joe, but I never seen him really get into it with people.
Last thing that this players poll did is it asked who is the GOAT, Mahomes or Brady, and overwhelmingly it was Tom Brady. Makes sense, Mo, given the fact that, Mahomes doesn't have 6 or 7 rings to flash yet, and he's still in the prime of his career, whereas Brady has set the bar. Any issue with Brady still being GOATed over Mahomes?
No, I think Tom Brady should be allotted the same respect that we gave Joe Montana when he held that title for so many years. Like, we're already ready to anoint the next guy. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes fan, but I think Tom Brady being known as the GOAT, I don't think that's changing anytime soon. If anybody can change that, it could be Patrick Mahomes, but I think Tom Brady's safe for a long time.
Gene, the Cleveland Browns have decided to keep not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 quarterbacks on their initial 53-man roster. Head coach Stefanski said that, listen, it's called the first 53 for a reason. So my response was like, okay, you still kept 4 quarterbacks on it, but clearly they're going to move someone. Right now, they obviously have Deshaun Watson as their starter, but they also have Tyler Huntley, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Jameis Winston. They're already saying they're fielding calls for Jameis Winston, easily the most established of those 3 backup quarterbacks. Gene, when we get the season underway here in a couple of weeks, of those 4 quarterbacks, who will be left on the roster for the Cleveland Browns?
DTR. I think Dorian Thomas-Robinson will definitely be on that list. I think they move on from Huntley or Winston, their biggest names on that list. And I think DTR is the one that is the young progression guy. I think that one of those two move, whether it's Jameis Winston or Huntley. Remember Huntley was a Pro Bowler?
I do recall that, by the way. Yes, he was.
But I think one of those two get moved to a situation where a team needs a backup quarterback. And I think that the Browns really covet Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but they didn't want to give away assets. They wanted to be able to recover some picks, whether it be a 5th, 6th, or 7th for one of their veteran quarterbacks.
Guys, I got some audio that I want to play for you here. I have no idea if this is going to work or not. We're about to find out together. I did not test this out. Let's do this live and see what happens here. See, it's not going to. Oh, it is going to work out. It is going to work out. Hang on. It is going to work out. As I wait for the guy to stop talking.
If I need to be. Yeah, I was excited for him. I mean, I don't think it was a surprise too much, obviously, right? I think he's had a great camp. I told him I'm excited for him for this opportunity. I really believe that they're putting him in a good situation. I mean, first of all, obviously I was very disappointed. I know I'm a starting quarterback in this league. I have 0 doubts about that. And, it just didn't shake out my way. But I know what kind of player I am, kind of person I am. And like I said earlier, I'll be ready to go if I need to be.
That was Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham talking about Bo Nix being named the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Gene, which one said he knows he's a starting quarterback in the NFL? Was it
Jarrett
Stidham
Stidham.
or Wilson?
I've heard that before. So,
It was Stidham.
but I'll tell you this: who would you rather have on your roster? The guy that was just ready to concede the job, or the guy
rollover. Yep.
Yeah, like I felt like I would much rather have Jarrett Stidham on my roster. I want that reaction out of a player. I want him to be upset he's not playing. Zach Wilson, yeah, he did a great job. Not surprised. Ready to get over the clipboard.
Listen, Zach went to the Broncos, guys, knowing he wasn't going to be the starter for this team. Zach just wants the paycheck. He just wants to get paid this season. He knew he wasn't going to win that job, Mo. Did he not?
He knew. No, he had little to no shot. I'm with Gene. When you just concede like that, I don't want that in my locker room. I want the guy that's like, apparently he beat me out, you know what, but I'll be ready to go if I get another opportunity. I want that guy. I want the guy that thinks he's still better than the guy that won the job. I want that guy.
Gene, the NFL moves quickly sometimes. Just ask Desmond Ridder. It wasn't that long ago. He was the franchise quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, and then he was vying to be the backup to Kyler Murray. And now after yesterday's cuts, he is out of a job in the NFL. Desmond Ridder currently unemployed because he did not win the backup role in Arizona. Wow. Gene, is this the end for Ridder? Will he catch on with another team and compete for a backup spot? Let's be honest, the competition wasn't that stout in Arizona for the backup quarterback position. It's not like he was losing out to, someone that used to be a starter and now they're on the back end of their career or something like that. What do you make of Desmond Ridder being cut by Arizona?
Look, I've been wrong a lot giving predictions, but this is something that I hit square on the nose. I said when Desmond Ridder got drafted, it was a terrible draft pick. I watched him play at Cincinnati. All you have to do is watch that college football playoff game versus Alabama, and you'll find everything out that you need to know about Desmond Ridder. I nicknamed him Desmond Get Ridder. And he's not a good quarterback. He's not. You know where you'll see Desmond Ridder? He's going to be in the new UFL. I guarantee it. And he'll be a guy that starts on a UFL team and looks decent because he has that. He's got an arm. He's got legs behind him, but he just cannot read NFL defenses. And if we're going to go even further with it, he's very skittish. When someone even comes near him, he's throwing the ball. No, I'm not surprised at all. Not one bit. I called this one.
Well, I got beat up yesterday on social media because the Miami Dolphins put Odell Beckham Jr. onto the PUP list, to which I say this. They knew when they signed him for $2.8 million for 1 year that he was coming off of an off-season procedure. And they even said that they were going to take it week by week, and they didn't know when they signed him if he was going to be ready for the start of the season. And he's not. Mo, the Dolphins did not sign him for $2.8 million. Let's remember that. It wasn't the $10 million he made last year with the Baltimore Ravens. Mo, they did not sign him for September football games. They signed him hoping he would be healthy down the stretch, November, December, into the playoffs. If he is, he might be worth the $2.8 million. If he's not, it was a waste of $2.8 million. I am not worried about him missing the first 4 games of the season. What say you, Mo?
I think exactly what you just said. The Dolphins signed Odell Beckham Jr. for the playoffs. They want him healthy on the latter side of the season. Coming in there, it was a low-risk, high-reward signing. He's not coming in there to be a 1 or a 2. I think he's coming in there, everybody knows that, to be an effective 3. At this stage of his career, still a great receiver in terms of his hands. And he has a viable job as a chain mover to me. When you have Waddle, when you have the speed that Tyreek brings to you, I just think that it's easy to jump on people when they make a move like that. But I don't know anybody that didn't know that he wasn't healthy ahead of time. So I'm not shocked at all by the move. I'm just shocked at all why people are making a big deal about it.
Gene, the Buffalo Bills cut Frank Gore Jr. They also, by the way, cut Gable Stevenson, ending his NFL dream. Former NCAA collegiate champion, failed WWE superstar Gable Stevenson. He will not be making the Buffalo Bills. But Gene, are we surprised that Frank Gore Jr. was cut? He rushed for 103 yards, I believe, in their final preseason game. And of course, he carries the Gore name.
That's the only reason that you'd be surprised. If his name was Frank Johnson Jr., he wouldn't be talked about right now.
Correct.
Look, no, I'm not surprised at all. He was 5th on their depth chart going into the last preseason game. And normally when you're running the ball every down in the last preseason game, you're not making the roster. I wasn't surprised one bit. I actually had a good conversation with my best friend. He was like, oh, because he drafted James Cook in his fantasy league. I'm like, he's the only back there, right? The only one you got to worry about behind him is Ray Davis. And he goes, Frank Gore Jr. I'm like, he's not going to make the team. And he goes, yeah, he is. Did you see him in that last preseason game? I'm like, bro, he's not going to make the team. And sure enough, he got cut. And look, we know him because of his name, right? But he's not above average in anything. Nothing against the kid.
Gene, we also saw the cut for Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney no longer with the Kansas City Chiefs. Surprised, Gene, that they moved on from Toney?
Absolutely not. You have another bust and look, you knew this offseason Kansas City was going to address their wide receiver room. They drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round. They signed Hollywood Brown. They obviously Rashee Rice developed into a little star for them. I wasn't shocked one bit that Kadarius Toney is not on the roster.
Gentlemen, before we get to our predictions, the last thing I want to touch on some of the available free agents. Right now, I'm just going to go off the list that I saw this morning. They put it in a top 10. I'm just going to give you the 10. I'm not going to give you any specific order. But that includes Donovan Smith, Ryan Tannehill, Micah Hyde, Michael Thomas, Patrick Peterson, Charles Leno Jr., Adoree Jackson, Xavier Howard, and David Bakhtiari. Gene, let me start with you. First of all, is David Bakhtiari going to be a New York Jet? Obviously, him and Aaron Rodgers are very close, but the Jets have fixed their offensive line as far as they are concerned. Odds of him being a Jet or attaching on with a contender before the season begins?
I think David Bakhtiari will wait until a left tackle from a contending team goes down. I don't think there's any chance he's a Jet. They signed Tyron Smith to be their left tackle. They drafted Olu Fashanu, 10th overall, what everyone thought to be their left tackle or their right tackle, and then they brought in Morgan Moses. No doubt in my mind that he's not signed by the Jets. Unless Tyron Smith goes down the first week and you don't think Olu Fashanu is ready, no. I think he'll sign with a contending team, but unfortunately it will be on the back of someone hurting themselves.
Mo, you pull up any set of numbers for cornerbacks over the past 7 or 8 seasons, and in the top 5 of almost every one of those major statistics, you're going to see the name Xavier Howard. Xavier Howard was released by the Miami Dolphins, and he has had literally zero tread on getting onto a new team. Now, a lot of that has to do with his off-the-field situations, which continue to pile on. But here we are. He could easily be named as the best defensive back that is not on a team right now, Mo. Is Howard going to be on a team come week 1?
I don't think so. I think somebody will pick him up eventually, but I don't think so. Not in week 1. I have a friend who's actually a big Miami Dolphin, probably as big a Dolphin fan as you. And he was blown away when he found out because he's one of his favorite players. And I was like, you really didn't see this coming? Because with all the with all the issues and stuff, like I just think that his value to them on the field with all the other stuff, I just think they weighed all that and they made a decision. It's not that he can't play. I just thought that they moved on from him. Somebody will pick him up because he can still play. There's no question he can play. But I just don't think that he's valued the way that he used to be valued.
I'm going to tell you where he's going to be. You want to know where he's going to land? 2 days ago, Dallas Cowboys cornerback Deron Bland has announced he has a stress fracture in his foot. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. What's an NFL team that doesn't care about character that will sign someone to win a football game?
That's right, guys.
Xavier Howard will be a Dallas
America's
Cowboy.
Team.
Xavier Howard will be a Dallas Cowboy playing opposite of Teron Diggs. Deron Bland's out for 6 to 8 weeks, and it could be more. Those stress fractures in your foot are almost impossible to come back from. And they're already talking about the Stephon Gilmore regret that they didn't want to re-sign him. Xavier Howard will be a Cowboy within a week.
Gene, is Ryan Tannehill the best free agent quarterback available right now? I know his tenure in Tennessee did not end well, but you could also look at Tennessee and be like, who was it going to end well for with that team that he was dealing with his last 2 seasons there? Guys, it's only, 3 seasons removed that Ryan Tannehill had the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs. Obviously, he's a little bit older now, though. Gene, do you see Tannehill attaching to a team, and do you think he is a viable backup option at this point in his career?
Well, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing themselves a disservice. They should have traded Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. You trade one of those players to the Minnesota Vikings, who lost J.J. McCarthy for the year. You bring in Ryan Tannehill, who knows the Arthur Smith system, who played for Arthur Smith, whose best years were under Arthur Smith.
Yep.
And you have him back up whoever you keep, whether that be Fields or Wilson. I think he'll latch on to a team, and I think he is the best. Listen, I never thought Ryan Tannehill was a good starter, but I always thought he was serviceable. And, the Tennessee Titans looked better when Ryan Tannehill was in the football game. So I think he'll find a team, but I think that it's one of those weird situations where I thought the Saints would trade Derek Carr. I thought the Steelers would trade either Wilson or Fields. Neither has happened yet.
Gene, before we go on to our picks, we know you're knee deep in the film getting into the start of the season. Is there anything else that stood out to you yesterday with the cuts or any of their transactions that were made yesterday?
Not really. I think you touched on a lot of them, and a lot of the cuts that happen are in my opinion, pretty obvious. I think that the injuries are more concerning to me. The ones that didn't seem like they were huge coming out of training camp, that putting people on the PUP list, I think those are more interesting. Hey, listen, I did not think that your backup running back for the 49ers, Mitchell, was as hurt as he was.
Yeah.
Now he's on IR, season-ending injury. He's gone. That depth behind CMC gets lighter and lighter for a guy that's never played 2 consecutive full seasons. Listen, in the NFL, it's almost impossible to come off the workload that CMC had last year and repeat it back to back. It just doesn't happen. So I think the 49ers need some depth at the running back position.
And then, Gene, any concern about CeeDee Lamb or Jamar Chase? CD will be ready. He signed his deal. He's ready for week 1. Jamar Chase has said he is going to play week 1. Obviously, they both took different approaches to getting ready for the season, and a lot of that approach was not doing much. Do you think there's going to be any rust for those guys to kick off? Are we concerned about potential injuries with either of them early in the season?
CeeDee Lamb is a fitness freak. I hate that, man. I want him so bad, but he is a fitness freak. He is probably in better shape not working out with the Cowboys than he is working out with the Cowboys. I can't say a thing about Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is one of those guys that relies so much on his physical ability. I hope he doesn't have a soft tissue injury earlier in the season, but that's normally what you look at when a guy tries to rev it up for week 1 with a week and a half notice. I hope he's one of those guys that's been working out, but I know CeeDee Lamb, and I know that, look, he's a nut, and I guarantee you'll not have no problem with his cardio, no problem with his soft tissue injuries. I think CeeDee Lamb will be ready. Jamar Chase, I would keep an eye out for. And that Cincinnati Bengals team has done nothing. That GM has done nothing but fumble the bag with receiver after receiver after receiver. Tyler Boyd stuck in that weird contract situation. It's not on the team. T. Higgins wants to get paid. He's like, I'm not happy to be here, but I'm going to show up. Jamar Chase wants to get paid. You're fumbling your situation at the wide receiver position. Don't draft all these guys around a good quarterback and give the quarterback $50 million if you're not going to sign at least one of them and get them inked up. The problem with Jamar Chase is the moment CeeDee Lamb signed that contract, Jamar Chase should have been 1 hour later. Here's the same contract plus $1. Yep. Why Cincinnati didn't do that is beyond me.
And you literally are looking at a Bengals team that went from do they have the best trio of wide receivers in the league to do they even have 2 wide receivers that want to be there right now? And that is what you were looking at going into the season as Jamar Chase remains without his new contract. All right, gentlemen, let's start with the NFC South. Baker is coming back with the Buccaneers. The Saints have Derek Carr under center. The Falcons are rolling with Kirk Cousins, but they have the backup plan in the house. And then, of course, there are the Panthers. Gene, we'll start with you. Who wins the division?
Pretty easy for me on this one. I think it's the Atlanta Falcons. I think they've done a great job addressing their pass rush by adding Matthew Judon, Kirk Cousins. You have two quarterbacks in the building that are better than what they had last year. Bijan Robinson, first-round draft pick. Kyle Pitts, first-round draft pick. Drake London, first-round draft pick. They have all the talent in the world. I think the Falcons run away with this division.
Mo?
I got the Falcons as well. All the talent at all the skilled positions. They made a great move to bring in Judon. I do think Baker will be back. I think Baker and company will be competitive. But I think in Atlanta wins that division. I have no faith in the Saints because obviously I have no faith in their quarterback. So, I mean, if you got Derek Carr, you're not doing anything. So, yeah, I think the Falcons win.
Mo's mantle. I think he has Derek Carr and LA Knight in the same slot. They're just sitting right next to each other. It's Carr and it's LA Knight.
Yeah.
Add Will Levis.
And Will Levis. By the way, Chris Hackney in our chat said that Will Levis is the most underrated quarterback in the NFL. He's going to have a breakout season this season.
He's a Titans fan, though, so let's take that with a grain of salt.
Fair. I'm also going with the Falcons, gentlemen. I think Kirk Cousins is one of the best regular season quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he is going to have a great season with a bunch of talent around him that has never truly been utilized properly since their time in Atlanta. And I think they're going to run away by probably about 2 or 3 games. I think Tampa might have a winning record. They might win 9 games, but I can see the Falcons easily winning 11 or 12 games. All right, let's move on in the NFC, shall we? Let's go to the NFC North. Obviously, the Vikings, not the best situation at quarterback, losing J.J. McCarthy. Jordan Love has received a bunch of love in the offseason. Then you had the Lions, who I think were the favorite going into the season. And then the Bears, where no one knows what to do with the Bears. Mo, let's start with you. Who do you like in the NFC North?
I think that's the Lions. You bring back an even more confident when you have Campbell, what he's done with the team, the confidence he built up, I just like everything about this team, especially offensively. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a monster outside. He's only going to get better. This team came a beat away from being in the Super Bowl, in my opinion, and I think they're going to be that much better this season because they addressed a couple things they needed to do defensively. So, yeah, I think it's the Lions division to win. But I think the other 2 teams, when you look at the Packers and the Bears, I think it's competitive in the sense that I can see a couple of those teams winning double-digit games. I can see that, but I still think the Lions win the division.
Gene, are you on the Jordan Love train like some others are?
I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I don't think he's going to be great. I don't think he's going to be terrible. I don't think he's bad. He makes too many bad decisions and bad throws for my liking. He throws off balance a little bit too much. And if you think he's going to be Aaron Rodgers because he learned behind Aaron Rodgers and he throws off balance, I don't think that. I do want to give one person credit. We talk about Dan Campbell. We talk about the Lions. Talk about all the great players. And I don't mean to sound this to be facetious. I'm not trying to call you guys out. Does anybody know who the Lions general manager is?
I do not.
His name is Brad Holmes. And the point behind that is we know Howie Roseman. We know Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones. We know John Lynch. We know all these GMs across the NFL. But Brad Holmes, it might be has done the best job of drafting great talent and paying them, keeping them happy. Amon-Ra got paid. Aiden got paid. Jared Goff is happy. Their team is situated, and he's done a wonderful job drafting for that team. I think the Lions not only win this division, I think they kind of run away with it. You'll hear how high I am on the Lions soon, but for them to get Terry and Arnold at the end of the first round, who I think is, if not the best corner in this draft, right there, sign Carlton Davis, bring in Kirby Joseph. They fixed their secondary overnight. I love what the Lions did this offseason. I love what Brad Holmes has done as a GM. I like the Lions a lot here.
And they just took a waiver on Tim Patrick coming out of Denver. Just has some extra wide receiver depth because why not? Just in case he still has something left in him, he can stay healthy. He is now part of the Lions as well. Gentlemen, we are all in agreement so far.
Jameson Williams, though. Remember Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams would be the breakout player of the year for the Lions. I think he'll be right up there with Amon-Ra St. Brown as one of the top receivers on the team.
Let's go to the NFC West. We got the Cardinals, the Rams, the Niners, and the Seahawks. Gene, we'll start with you.
This is auto pick. 49ers, auto pick. I don't think any team in this division can compete. I think the best two things that the Rams had last year both walked out the door, and that's Aaron Donald and Raheem Morris. Nothing against Sean McVay, but when you lose your defensive coordinator and you lose Aaron Donald, and I'm not buying into Geno Smith knocking off the San Francisco 49ers. I'm just not there. I think the 49ers, I think this is an auto pick.
Mo?
Yeah, I have the Niners winning the division. Look, with the Rams, Chris, and you and I have talked about this over and over. I don't think they win the division, but I still think they're one of the scarier teams because people underestimate them. I think they're going to be in the hunt to make a wild card. So, I think the Niners win the division, though.
I got the Niners, too. I do think the Rams win 10 games this season, though. No one believed me on the Rams last year. I was the only one on that branch, and we did it last year. Let's do it again. Let's do it again, Rams. All right, and then we end up in the NFC East, Commanders, Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys. Mo, we'll start with you. I think the real question is, it's either going to be the Eagles or the Cowboys, is it not?
I got the Eagles. I love what they did in the offseason, giving Jalen Hurts another weapon. That offense is so loaded. Look at those receivers. Look at that tight end. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have an MVP caliber season. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a season very similar to C-Max. They have similar skill sets. If Saquon Barkley can stay healthy, the Eagles are going to be a juggernaut offensively.
All right, Gene's got the Cowboys. We'll just move on.
Really?
No. I will say this. I love what the Eagles did this offseason. Howie Roseman's done a masterclass. They had issues in the secondary. They picked up Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Isaiah Rodgers, who everyone forgets about, was a good cornerback for the Indianapolis Colts, got suspended for the whole year for gambling. We scooped him up while he was suspended, let him sit on our roster while he was suspended, and now he's back. He's at our cornerback 2 position. Got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back. That secondary is fixed. Brought in Devin White at the linebacker position with Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond. I really like what they did there. The problem with this Philadelphia Eagles team will be if they can get pressure on the quarterback is that front 4. Jalen Carter looks incredible, but outside of him, I don't know where that pressure is coming from, but I think the Eagles win the division. I really do. Their offense is loaded. Their line is loaded. They added Jahan Dotson, who I've always been high on, Saquon Barkley. Losing Kelsey hurts, but Cam Jurgens is a little monster.
Guys, we went chalk in the NFC. We all agree with the division winners. Gene, give me your 3 wild cards.
All right, so I'll go with the Green Bay Packers. Give me the Dallas Cowboys. And then the third one's tough because I've been back and forth on this for a while. I'm just not. Give me the Rams. I'll give the Rams the third wild card. I don't like their defense, though, and I'm not happy about it.
Mo, 3 wild cards.
I'm going to go Packers, Rams, and I'm going to go Bucks.
I knew you weren't going to go Cowboys, but you've been hanging hard on the Cowboys are not making the playoffs.
They're not
here on the morning show.
I would love for you to be right. Nothing more.
Mo, I'm going to ride with you. I'm going to ride with you and say the Cowboys aren't going to make the playoffs because I think we hit a point in the middle of the season or somewhere around there where we see Dak kind of unravel a little bit when he starts to realize he ain't coming back next season. I like the Packers, I like the Rams, and I like the Bucks as well. With that in mind, Mo, your teams are Falcons, Lions, Niners, Eagles, Packers, Rams, and Bucks. Who is your NFC Championship matchup?
I'm gonna go Eagles, Niners, one more round.
All right, Gene?
I'll go Lions, 49ers.
I like that a lot, actually. I'm going to go Lions and 49ers as well. I got the Lions going to the Super Bowl this season, guys. I'm just saying.
I do too. I do
don't-
too. I don't. Where are they weak?
They're not.
They-
That's the thing. They're
Best
not.
offensive line in football. They're loaded in the receiving core. Their defensive line is good. Aiden Hutchinson is proven to be every bit the winner that you thought he was. Their linebackers are good. Their secondary is fixed.
They're good special teams too. They don't make special teams mistakes either. Speaking of which, Gene, what do you make of the new kicking rule? Is it going to matter? Is not aesthetically? Obviously, aesthetically, it's a hot mess. But when it comes to as the season progresses and teams get more film on this and they start to try to find wrinkles with it, are we going to see a point in the season where a couple of teams figure something out with the kick returns? And you're talking, by week 12, you got to watch Baltimore because Baltimore has figured out the kick returns and they're doing something no one else is doing. Are we going to be talking like that? Or is this going to be much to do with nothing because, one, it looks like a hot mess. Two, there's nothing really to figure out with it. And three, teams are just going to be like, they don't want us doing anything anymore on special teams. Can't even do a surprise onside kick anymore, guys. It's done.
If a guy figures out special teams, if a team figures out special teams, then the kickers will just start kicking the ball into the end zone.
Sure.
Here's my thought process. I think that I think we're looking at it from the wrong perspective. I hate it. I just give the teams the ball at the 25-yard line and eliminate it.
Right.
But I think that the skill and the strategy that will be behind it is teams that have kickers that can squib the ball in between that 20-yard area and have it roll into the end zone to gain yourself an extra 5-10 yards. Or have the guys try to play it off that bounce. I think you'll find kickers that learn how to squib the ball in that 20-yard range. And I think that's what you'll see a lot more of instead of this, like teams figuring out the kick return. Not a fan.
I will say, though, if it's squibbing around down there and you get a couple of weird bounces, you might see more turnovers on kickoffs this season than you have in previous seasons. All right, gentlemen, let's jump over to the AFC. We're going to start in the AFC South. The Titans, the Jaguars, the Colts, and the Texans. I'm going to go first. A part of me wants to go Jacksonville. Part of me just wants Trevor Lawrence to figure it out. But part of me has wanted that for the last 3+ seasons, and we're not there yet. So I'm going Houston. I like Houston's defense. I like their offense. I like their secondary. I like their skill positions. I love their head coach. Houston. Mo?
I'm going with the Texans as well. I think a lot of people ask the question. We saw what Stroud does. The league adjusts to you. Will he adjust to the league? We'll see. This is year 2, but I think Stroud is the real deal. And they went out and gave him another weapon. You can make a case that their threesome at wide receiver is as scary as anybody. So it'll be interesting to see. But I just think they have the best overall team in the division, and I think they have the best quarterback in the division.
I'm going to stay on my land. I'll stay on my branch. I will be the first one to not go chalk. Give me Jacksonville. Doug Peterson finds ways to win football games. Trevor Lawrence figures this out. And I love the addition of Brian Thomas Jr.
They're going to break your heart, Gene.
Probably.
It's going to break your heart.
They're definitely my AFC squad.
Let me ask you, Gene, though, when you made a pick for Jacksonville, is that more about your belief in Lawrence or more about your belief in Doug Peterson?
I think it's my belief in both of them, if I'm being honest with you. I've watched Trevor Lawrence play as a redshirt freshman at Clemson. I've always thought the kid has something. I watched every one of his football games last year, and I think that the criticism of him was somewhat unfair because if you look at some of if you break down the games, right? And I watch way too much football, and I get that. But he would hit a guy right in the hands, and he wouldn't be able to toe tap or be able to. There were so many plays where a receiver couldn't get his feet down or drop the pass, and then the next play was a turnover. It was just like touchdown. Okay, now it's not a touchdown. Now it's a turnover. And granted, he's got to stop turning the friggin' ball over.
Yeah, he does.
But if we're being honest, and we watched that Jacksonville-Baltimore game, and we graded both quarterbacks, we left that game and everyone said, Lamar Jackson's the MVP. And I'm like, Trevor Lawrence played better in that football game. Like, it was unfortunate, but like one of the passes Lamar Jackson made was a double team to Isaiah Likely. They just threw up a jump ball crossbody, and Isaiah Likely came down. We're like, Lamar Jackson is incredible. It's a terrible read. I think Trevor Lawrence figures it out. I think Christian Kirk being hurt last year, who was this huge safety net. They were one of the best teams in the AFC before Christian Kirk got hurt. I think the Jaguars figured it out. I think the Jaguars put it together this year.
Gene, AFC North, Steelers, Browns, Bengals, and Ravens. As much as I love Joe Burrow, I'm going to go Ravens just because I think they're on paper the best team in that division. I want to go Burrow, but I don't trust the team around him. So my pick is going to be Ravens. What say you?
Would you say that the Steelers, Ravens, and Browns are all top 10 defenses in football?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to pick Joe Burrow versus 3 top 10 defenses in football. Give me the Ravens. They have a run game, Lamar Jackson. They have receivers all around them, and they have the best linebacker safety combo that we might have seen since Ray Lewis and Ed Reed.
Well, you going Ravens as well?
I am. That defense is the bear. I mean, I know we go with the end results. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl. The Chiefs beat the Ravens. That defense did its job. So Kansas City did nothing in the second half. This is all about what Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and that offense can do. That defense is a monster.
I'm assuming we are all going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs, but let's just find out. Mo, Chiefs?
I'm going Denver. I'm going to be outside.
Well, they're starting Bo Nix, so.
No, I think the kid has something, but it's the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs run away with this division.
Gene?
I love the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are a better team this year than they were last year. But I will say this. The second best team in that division, look out. I think we'll talk about it, obviously, with the wild card, but the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm on them.
All right. And then we come to the AFC East. Guys, I'm not picking against the Dolphins. Not doing it. But if I had to, it would be the Jets. I think, and I will say this, and I don't give Buffalo credit. I'm still not going to give Buffalo credit. I think that if all 3 teams play at their ultimum level, the Jets are the best team in that division. I think they have the best defense in that division, hands down. I think they have one of the best defenses in the league. They have Aaron Rodgers, who is only a couple years removed from being the back-to-back MVP of the league. I think he can still play at a very high level in this league, and they have a bunch of weapons across the offensive side of the ball, and they have an improved offensive line. If everything is as it's supposed to be, I think the Jets are the best team in that division. The Dolphins are second, and the Bills are third. Now, of course, who knows if everyone stays healthy? Same thing with Miami. Who knows if Tua stays healthy? But I'm taking the Dolphins to win the division. Mo.
I'm taking the Jets. Gene I talked about this on yesterday's show. If we do a lot of projection lists. If we're projecting that you get a healthy Aaron Rodgers to go with that defense and the weapons that they also added and a healthy Breece Hall, look, I think if all things being right, the Jets are going to be in the AFC Championship game.
Gene?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Mo on this one. I think that if you can see, this is the whole thing, right? It all lies on the legs and the arms of a 40-year-old quarterback. If you can guarantee me Aaron Rodgers' health and he looks like even a shell of himself from Green Bay, the Jets should win this division rather easily. But I will say this. The Miami Dolphins will be 8-1 out the gate. They're going to be a team that is going to be great in September, great in October.
Those final 6 games are brutal.
They're so brutal. That's when you need Odell Beckham Jr. though.
Yep.
Which is why that $2.8 million doesn't look that bad. There for those final 8 games or final 6 games.
Those 6 games, yeah. I think they're on the road for 4 of them. Their last 2 games are in Cleveland and at the New York Jets. Like, they got cold weather games in there. It's a whole situation.
You have 5 of the top 8 corners in football playing against them in those last 6 weeks. Jair Alexander, Derek Stingley Jr. You get Sauce twice.
Yep.
Like, it's not
it's brutal. It's brutal. All right, gentlemen. The only divisions we did not see eye to eye on were in the AFC. Texans and Jaguars, Dolphins and Jets. The other 6 we lined up perfectly with. Gene, give me your wild card teams in the AFC.
It's man. All right, I'll just be as frank as possible. The Texans have to be a wild card team. I think they'll be there. I have the Jaguars. I'm gonna go Miami, and I don't know. I think it's gonna be a tie between Buffalo and the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm gonna give it to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Las Vegas Raiders are gonna be a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I want to give them shine here. I wouldn't be shocked if it was the Buffalo Bills, but because of the way things line up, give me the Raiders as my third wild card.
Mo?
I'm gonna go Jacksonville, Miami. You know what? I'll say something raw. I'm gonna go Cleveland.
Ooh, Deshaun getting it done up there in Cleveland. Let's go. I'm gonna go the Jets because I think the Dolphins win the division. I am gonna go with the Jaguars, and I am not gonna go with the Raiders or the Browns. I'm gonna go with it's just kind of a melee for that last wild card pick, and somehow the Chargers sneak in there. And we don't know how they did it, but we're singing the praises of Harbaugh for finding a way to sneak into the playoffs his first season as the coach of the Chargers. Mo, give me your AFC championship game matchup.
I would say I'd like to see the Jets and the Chiefs.
I like that. That's a solid pick right there. That's a solid pick.
You're going to get a little wild from me. Jets, Jaguars.
Jets, Jaguars. That is wild. Which one's beating Mahomes?
I think the Jets beat them. I think Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. It's a classic. I think the Jets defense is just a little bit better. I think the Jets beat the I think it'll be essentially the 2-3, or I think the Ravens end up getting the 1 seed, and I think the Jaguars go into Baltimore as the 4 seed and beat. That's how I foresee it.
I'm going Ravens Jets in the AFC title game. Now we're all assuming here Aaron Rodgers and the Jets stay healthy.
We are.
Because one slip up and this is completely different, gentlemen.
Correct. We just delete it.
Right.
Delete list. Now, I will say this. Them bringing in Tyrod Taylor. If they had Tyrod Taylor last year, they win 3 more football games.
Easily.
So, I think they make the playoffs last year with that defense and everything around them with Tyrod Taylor. Them having him as a backup, them having a real backup plan is intelligent. I probably would have had that last year.
Gene, what's going on tonight on Wire to Wire Sports?
We got a running back list tonight. Next week's the quarterback list and the full NFL preview. But we have a running back list tonight. We're loaded. We got a million different things. But we're going to actually get into college football. Week 1, week 0, already an upset in Ireland. Florida State went down. Georgia Tech. We'll be getting into that. A lot of football tonight. I do want to get into just a shade into me and Mo talked about this yesterday, but I want to get Trell and Bill's opinion on the I feel like that you can watch WNBA basketball and say Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are both good rookies without disparaging the other. I don't know why we have to do that. It doesn't.
Right.
But because that's the world we live in. You can't give one credit unless you're taking away from someone else. And I don't know why. I don't know why that's the world we live in, but that is the world we live in right now. And I believe I was looking at the standings yesterday. I think if the playoffs started today, they're both in. I believe they both have the final 2 spots in their conference. So, which is what these ratings need, because if anyone has, I don't think there is anyone. They have the worst playoff schedule time imaginable. Like, you are literally fifth week of the NFL season. Major League Baseball playoffs are all happening and the NBA season starts. What a terrible time to have your playoffs going on. God awful. Absolutely awful.
Must see TV tonight, though. Indiana versus Connecticut Sun. Dejanara Carrington is like the Drew Holiday of the WNBA. Yes. She gave Caitlin Clark the business early in the season. This game's in Indiana. I would love to see how things start tonight.
Gene, as always, we appreciate you, sir. We'll see you tonight on Wire to Wire Sports. All right.
Appreciate you, Gene.
Take care.
All right, Mo, let's close out with this, sir. We have done the predictions. It's been the predictions of all predictions here today as far as what is going to happen in the upcoming NFL season. Mo, you know this. You're here. You're here every morning. You know that we like to close the show sometimes doing a little bit of WWE stuff. And that is going to be the case right now. Obviously, if you didn't see AEW All In, you saw that Ricochet has joined AEW. For Mimo, it is what it is. It is what it is. I just hope that his wife, Samantha Irvin, remains over there in WWE because I think she does well. I think she does well in her ring announcer role. Obviously, Uncle Howdy, he made his in-ring debut. He is doing well over there. But I want to talk a little bit about Psycho Sid. Psycho Sid passed away this week at the age of 63 years old after a lengthy battle with cancer. Obviously, you hear the stories, Mo, about his initial run in WWE, and then he went over to WCW. And, guys who worked with him had their opinions of him and how he was as a worker and whatnot. But obviously he fit the mold back in WWE. He was big, he was tall, he was daunting. That is what Vince liked during that time. It was all about the presentation. He had the Psycho character. It was different at the time, Mo. Looking back at Psycho Sid, and I know people talk about his WWE title run and the ratings and the attendance, and it wasn't great. It wasn't. He was never going to be a great in-ring worker, and he never was a technician on the mat. But looking back at Sid and his legacy in professional wrestling, I look at it as someone who, he wasn't my era. He wasn't. But when you say Psycho Sid, I'm there. I know who we're talking about. I know the highlights. And for me, Mo, if that's what I get out of it with him not being my era and me not, I never saw him wrestle on TV. I never saw him wrestle on TV. He wasn't on TV when I started watching wrestling when I was like 12 years old. He was over by that point. He was in WCW at that point, and I didn't watch WCW. So I never saw Sid wrestle on WWE television. But despite all that, Mo, I know the greatest hits. I know the accolades. So for me, if that's the case, he was pretty damn good. And that's how I look at Sid, and that's how I look at his career. But what say you?
What I remember the most about Sid is that probably one of the more imposing, intimidating figures in modern wrestling history. He looked like something that you would see out of a comic book.
Right.
He very well could have been a comic book villain. Like, I mean, what's about damn near 7 feet tall, chiseled, and he played up the Psycho Sid character to the 10th power. I actually did see him wrestle. I'm older than you. Not a great technician, really just a straight power wrestler. So he was obviously more effective when he wrestled against more skilled guys who could carry him. But look, I think that he left an imprint on wrestling. And I saw somewhere in an article where he said at some point, and this is obviously before he passed, that since Vince is no longer in charge, that he should probably get a shot at getting into the WWE Hall of Fame. Which, by the way, I didn't know he wasn't in.
Right.
So let's see what Triple H and them do or how they honor him.
And Mo, before we close out, quick little Brock Lesnar story for you. I saw an interview that Paul Heyman did over the weekend talking about Brock Lesnar. I took away 2 tidbits from it. Number one, before Brock made his official main roster debut, he was doing a dark match. And this is before he hooked up with Paul Heyman. And he was being told by everyone that his character should be a Russian enforcer. He should just stand in the ring and let guys bounce off of him with a Russian accent. Thank God he got hooked up with Paul Heyman. And then the second tidbit was after him and Heyman got hooked up, Vince greenlighted Brock for 2 matches and told Brock, you pick your 2 opponents, we'll make it happen. The first 2 opponents Brock Lesnar picked Funaki and Spike Dudley. Don't tell me that Brock Lesnar is an idiot, Mo. That man knew exactly what he was doing when he handpicked Funaki and Spike Dudley as the first 2 televised matches of his career. He knew what the people wanted to see, and that was a big man throwing around much, much smaller men, which is exactly what he did to both Funaki and Spike Dudley in those matches.
I would make the case that he could have done that to both in the same match. If they had done a handicap match, he would have thrown them both around like rag dolls. But yes, Brock Lesnar knew what the people wanted.
Mo, take us to the close, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you guys.
Hey, we're back here same time, same place tomorrow, guys. We are gearing up for the start of the NFL season. We are 1 week away tomorrow. 1 week away tomorrow, I believe. Yes, we are 1 week away tomorrow, Mo. It's crazy. The NFL season is upon us. All the fantasy football drafts are happening this weekend, this weekend.
Yeah.
I think I have like 4 going on. It's going to be absolutely insane. Mo, I hate drafting my league so close together because I end up taking the same guys. Like I catch myself like, I just drafted him in this league. Let me see if I can get him again, which is great until you get a couple of injuries. I'm like, God, I got the same guy out in 4 leagues. Why did I draft the same guy in 4 leagues? Guys, Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by